we'll call this continued June 4th meeting to order. Have our roll call.
District 1,
Present.
District 2,
Present.
District 3,
Present.
and District 4.
The quorum is present, so we can conduct business. Mr. Porter, if you would our invocation, and Mr. Led will our pledge. Okay, the next item is the approval of the agenda. We have one item on the agenda. We have a motion to approve the agenda with that item.
Also moved.
Motion, we have a second. Discussion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. First item is regarding the personnel recommendation, and before we move forward on this, I'd ask that we have a motion to enter into executive session, discuss the good name and character of an individual. We have a motion to enter into executive session.
Second motion.
Motion, do we have a second? Is there discussion? All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. Okay. Take just a few minutes and be right back in here. Returning, entertain a motion to return to a regular session from executive session. Motion, we have a second.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Back into regular session. Before we move on to motion for this item of business, Mr. Porter, would you please report?
I will, Mr. Chairman. I received a request from the employees, attorney requesting an extension or continuance of the matter that was set today at 2 o'clock to give them additional time to make preparations for such a matter.
Okay. We have that request. Do we have a motion to approve the request?
I'd like to make that motion just on next Monday night to
Do it at 3 o'clock. Okay. So to continue this meeting, or have it 3 p.m. We have a motion, we have a second.
I'll second that.
Any discussion on this item? Okay. Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. So we will continue this item to 3 p.m. on Monday. We'll need to just continue this meeting instead of adjourning. We have a motion and a second, or we voted in favor of having this matter listened to at 3 p.m. next Monday. So instead of adjourning, entertain a motion to continue the actual meeting until next Monday at 3 p.m.
Awesome.
Motion, we have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. Okay. We'll move straight on into the work, or actually, I'm sorry, we'll take a 5-minute recess before we move into the work session. Call this June 4th Jackson County Commission work session to order. We'll dispense with the formalities since we conducted those. And first item will be to approve the agenda of the meeting. I would ask that we remove item number 2 from the agenda. We're still working on the information for that from the revenue office. And that should be it. So we have those 3 items, items 1, 3, and 4 on the agenda. Any other changes before we proceed? Do we have a motion to accept the agenda with that change? Motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. Okay. First item, public comments from citizens. We've had one individual sign up to speak, Mr. Gary Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The request here, as you have it in front of you, involves a records request. If these records do in fact exist, it's a question if they exist, but it's come to my attention that there's been public recordings that has been made by officials of Jackson County, probably past employees. If these public recordings exist in the commission office, we'd like to have a copy of those. I'd like to be privy to a copy of those recordings or a transcript. If a transcript is necessary, I'd be glad to pay for that transcript. But I would like to be privy to the recordings, if any recordings do exist. As I've explained on here, you know, a citizen has a right to copy public records, just so it's not a part of an investigation or a security of the courthouse or infrastructure. So, you know, in previous discussion about this, I know there is at least one recording that probably existed between the administrator and involving Judge Hammer. And I would like to be privy to that if that recording exists. And if there's any other recordings, which I suspect there is, that involve other past employees, if those can be released, I am requesting that those be released to the public, either to the press or to myself, to inspect those records. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
The only person signed up to speak. We'll move on to the first item of discussion regarding the July 4th holiday. July 4th does fall on a Thursday this week, and I would like to ask if there's any questions or comments on approving July 5th, which is the Friday after July 4th, for a holiday for the county courthouse as well. Any questions or comments, or how you'd like to proceed on it?
I'll make a motion.
We'll do it next week.
How does that affect the people that work 14s?
They're off on they would be off that Friday, as I understand anyway.
What we normally do is take off on if they give you 16 hours holiday, we take off on a Wednesday and burn 2 hours, and we take off on Thursday and burn 2 hours overtime. That's what we usually do, like on Thanksgiving.
What about solid waste? Garbage pickup?
We probably have to work for Thursday. We'll probably go ahead and work Thursday morning, and I apologize, I hadn't thought that far ahead, but normally we'll work Thursday morning and get on the garbage. And then, of course, all we do on Fridays is plain garbage truck service anyway, so we'd be okay with that.
Any other questions? So we'll place that on the agenda for either discussion or vote for next meeting. Next item is amendment for the budget for the jail. I'll need to get the figures. I did want to make you aware that we're looking at the jail maintenance fund is needing some more funds to get through the year. Looks like there wasn't enough budgeted to handle the regular annual maintenance, and I'm working on those numbers for you. I'll get those numbers out to you so everyone can take a look at that. And I'll work with that committee so that they can make a recommendation on how we need to proceed. But it looks like we may have to look at a budget amendment to increase that line item. I think at max $10,000 for the rest of the year to supply the funds necessary for jail maintenance. Like I said, it looks like the budget had been cut, even though the expenses just continue to go up with the cost of everything. So I'll get more information to you on that. I wanted to make everyone aware of that, though. The final item on the agenda is the animal control ordinance. We presented this at the previous work session to review. I hope everybody's had time to review it. What I'd like to do today is just kind of take any comments, questions we have from the commission as far as any changes that we think needs to be made, or concerns with it, or questions from Mr. Porter, and probably put it on at least another work session before we move it to a public hearing. So this time, any questions or comments from the commission in regard to this item?
Needs to be compacted.
What
Too
can?
much in it.
The first few pages are more or less legal descriptions that have to be included, among the ordinance we're not passed.
Correct.
That's what makes it look so lengthy. From what I can tell you,
That that's pretty much, I guess, what makes it so lengthy. It goes through the process of whether an animal, or how to declare an animal dangerous, and then, of course, what the result is after that animal is declared dangerous, and how you need to, take caution with that animal. How, if an attack happens after that point, and of course, the legal procedure for that. To me, it's there are, several pages, obviously, but it does look like it's very basic as far as what we're looking at to assist in the case, have some type of ramification if a dangerous animal does attack somebody. Then there is some type of legal recourse for individuals to take, whereas now, as I understand it, there's really nothing that they protected by law. And I've tried to get this document out to everyone who's requested it, and I hope that anyone interested will request a copy so that we can get that out as much. If we do choose to do the public meetings or community meetings, I guess like that, I would say that we need to have this out prior to that point so that they've had time to review it. A lot of questions, I think, will be answered after they've reviewed the document.
It doesn't have to be a special meeting just for that, just as long as, I think, Mr. Miller's, we've got one coming up, trying to get one scheduled for that.
That would be good to have a copy of that out.
Any other questions or comments?
I would encourage everybody that has not got a copy of this, that wants it, get on our email list and get a copy of it. So that when this does come up for discussion at community meetings, that we hear all sides instead of after the fact. I'd like everybody to be well informed, and it's what the community wants. We want to make sure we do what's best for citizens of Jackson County and not just for a select few.
Anything else? Okay. If I know you may still be taking time to review, and I think you had some issues with it. If we can get with Mr. Porter to address those issues and maybe get an amended version that we can get out also if we need to, or if you get with Mr. Porter to ask those questions if you have any additional questions. I'd like to move forward with this as we can. So if we if we move forward in that process, I'd ask that we still, again, place this on the next work session. We will show any amendments, if any, at that point, and if there's no changes, then we'll go ahead and proceed with community meetings or however we wish to proceed at that point. I think the only concern I have, and it was brought up by another commissioner about including schools as far as dangerous animals on school property. And we need to see if that's a possibility, and I'll get with Mr. Porter to see what wording we might put. And of course, any changes, like I said, that are made, we will highlight those in the next work session that we have, so everyone's aware of those changes, so we know what document we have in front of us.
I have issues about unattended animals. How do we include hunting animals? Pack dogs, red dogs, or that type of animal, in some of this language.
This would be regarding just the vicious animal. Do we need to specify that
Yes.
in section 3?
That part's just for.
Yeah, it's all about dangerous animals.
And we may need to specify that under I guess it'd be section 7. We've got several ABCs here, but I don't know if we need to specify in each one that that's just for, I know it says an attack by an animal declared dangerous, but if we need to, under section 3 on page 8, state
No
that that's.
animal shall be allowed to be unattended on public property. There's several things like that too. Maybe I'll get a chance to sit down with you and just discuss how questions about.
So we may look through that, Ms. Porter, if you would too, to kind of be prepared any places where we may need a little more clarification. I don't know if that's needed or not. I haven't looked further at this. Any other questions or comments? Okay. We will take this, if you would, get with those concerns. I feel pretty good about it, with, like I said, regard to the school, property, and I guess we can see what options are there before we discuss that. If there's no objection, then we'll continue with this at the next work session for further discussion, showing any amendments that we may make. Is that all right with you? Okay. Okay, that concludes the items on our work session agenda. We'll move on to our reports. Mr. Widener?
All I have is to make y'all aware, we finishing up County Road 17 today, put the guardrail on. That's our first day trip project. It's turned out real well. Only thing we'll like after today will be the permanent traffic striping, and that'll go on in a couple of weeks after the pavement's cleared out. But real well, it's the first time I've worked with a contractor we had on that job, and they done a good job with it, so we're proud of it.
Mr. Porter?
I don't have anything.
Mr. Guthrie?
No, sir.
Mr. Miller?
No, sir.
Mr. Venable? Mr. Layla?
No, sir.
That concludes the items on our agenda, so we entertain a motion to adjourn this work session. Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say